In for Christy Lofton today. So I feel like I should say, hey y'all, we're going to talk about 5-year evaluations today. So you are in the right meeting and we're getting ready to get started. So first off, I'm going to have you sign in to the chat with your name and school, and then I'm going to share my screen. While we're going along, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat or feel free to just go ahead and ask right then. I can stop and answer questions also. But I do have people here helping with the chat, so if you want to type into the chat and ask a question, you can do that too. Okay. So we are here talking about the 5-year evaluation process. And so if you're with us today, you're probably going to go through an evaluation this year, or you're just curious about it. So as you know, you go to CTU, that's where you start, and go to the BMIT division.
Kathy, we do have a couple of questions that are similar. Just asking if this is for high school or tech centers.
Okay, this is for high school, K through 12. Do we have anyone here with the tech center?
We have a few people.
I can talk to, if you're going through an evaluation this year with your tech center, Carrie, do you want me to cover both of them? Today?
No, you don't have time to do that.
Okay, if you're going through,
you're just going to have to focus on K12 today.
Okay, if you are going through an evaluation this year with your tech center, send me an email and we can chat, and I can answer any questions you have or walk you through anything. So we're going to focus on the 7 through 12 evaluations today. Okay, so you go to CTU. Once you go to the BMIT division, if you will click on 5-year evaluations, school districts, grades 7 through 12. I apologize for my voice, allergies. Okay, and then you'll see, can everyone still see my screen? You should be seeing, okay, great, thank you. 2020, 2021 evaluations, and you will click on that. And that will take you to the evaluation screen. I am going to go through the evaluation form with you. Before I do that, I'll show you the evaluation schedule is on here. If you want to know what day you are being evaluated, you can click on this link and it will tell you. All of our evaluations are going to be virtual this year. So you'll still upload your information to here to CTU. That hasn't changed, but the visit itself is going to be virtual, but it will still be on the day that we have scheduled. I'm going to come back to this information in just a bit. If you scroll down to when you're going to be evaluated, right now you can see all of these schools and names because you're in my login. But when you log in, you should only be able to see your school and your name. Right now there is nothing in these, so I'm going to click on, I'm going to pick on Melinda here at Minco, and you can click on your folder. And you'll see that I have made you folders for each of the 6 standards that you are that we're going to be talking about. Okay, so when you click on those, this is what you're going to upload your information to. If to be able to upload information, you're going to click on this edit button down here at the bottom of your folders. Once you click on that edit button, it pulls all these folders up. So if you click into leadership and administration, which is the first standard, then you can drag and drop anything that you need to into that folder and then click Save Changes. I want to talk to you about the second standard, instruction and training. That's the biggest standard that you'll have the most information for. And so what we'd ask for you to do on this one is to make some subfolders as you go through your information and are uploading documentation. I have made one subfolder for this, so I'm going to show that to you, and then I'll show you how I made it. So you'll click on the arrow, and that shows you the subfolder that I made. But I'm going to click into, oh, I'm sorry, I can't click into it. I need to click Edit. Don't forget to click Edit. That's what'll happen. You'll go, I can't do anything. You need to click Edit first. So click Edit. And you'll click into, if I want to add subfolders to the folder 2, instruction and training, I'm going to click into that folder. And I've added one subfolder there, but I'm going to add another one. So that's download. You'll see this one says create folder. This one is add. I want to create another folder. So I'm going to click create folder, and whatever I want to name this folder. If I want to name this folder curriculum, and then I'm going to save my changes, and then you'll see it's under instruction and training. So Melinda, I will go back in here and take this out if you'd like, or I can leave them and you can rename them. So any folders that you want to add to, just click on the edit button. Click into whichever folder you're wanting to add a subfolder and click on create folder. If you're just trying to drag and drop into that folder, just drag and drop into it. And so that is how you upload information to your folders.
Kathy, if I can just add in, we have a lot of people that have joined that are not going to have a 5-year evaluation this year or are with the Technology Center. So if you are with the Technology Center, this session will not be helpful for you because that accreditation process is totally different. If you are in a high school that is not going to be evaluated this year and you just want to stay in to learn about the evaluation process, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that you weren't wasting your time in a session that won't be helpful for you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Okay, so just a little refresher. If you know when you are being evaluated, you will scroll down here and find your name and your folder. So we have them separated by months. So in September, October, November. So if you're being evaluated in November, you will come down here and find it. The list is also at the top, but you can just scroll down until you find your name in your folder. And there's one I need to finish taking care of. So, and I will get that done. If you have any problem with that, just send me an email and I can help you out. Okay, so we're going to go to the evaluation template. And I may have to stop sharing. So I'm going to go to a different screen. Okay. This may take me just a moment. I apologize.
Kathy, while we're doing that, we do have a question in the chat, and it says, on our meeting date, do all teachers in the department need to be present? Just asking so we know if we both need to request a substitute.
Okay, your meeting times will be at different times of the day. And actually, that's something we're going to have to work out with you what time, because depending on how many teachers there are, I may do a group meeting for part of it, and then the rest of it will be separate. So we will be contacting you with what time. You will both need substitutes, but you may need them for different times of the day. So we will try to get that worked out. Do I need to stop sharing and reshare my screen, or can you see the evaluation form?
We can see the K12 evaluation form. It's
Okay.
on page 1.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, any other questions before we get going on this? All right, so for the Career Tech standards, there are 6 standards that you will be evaluated over. Of the 7 standards, you will be evaluated over 6 of them. So the first one is leadership and administration. On this standard, most of this information is going to come from your administration. On question 1, the quality indicator question 1, showing support from your local administration and board. This is something that you may want to get a letter from your principal or your superintendent stating that they are in support of your program, things that they've accomplished, you know, just some example of support. So you may want to get in touch with them and show them what you're needing for number 1. On number 2, the signed CTE contract by the superintendent, that's something that administration will provide. And the STE report showing the correct OCAS code. So that's something that will also come from administration. So this does play into your evaluation. So you do want to make sure that you get all of this completed, but you will work with administration to get this information. As you can see, there is a met and a not met button. So if you don't meet any requirement, then it goes under the not met statement. You do need to meet everything in order to pass the standards. If you don't meet a requirement, we do work with you and give you some time to get that fixed. Okay, let's move on to standard 2. Whoops, let me make it bigger again. Is this big enough? Can you see this? Okay, on standard 2, this is instruction and training, and so this is the biggest portion of your evaluation form that you'll have a lot to do, but a lot of it is information that you should already have in place, and you should just be able to pull it from your documents, upload it to CTU, and you'll be fine. These are things that you went over when you became a new teacher and that you were doing. The 3-year program strategic plan. We want to see your long-range planning and your goals for success of your program. So we have the link right here to the form that you can fill out for your strategic plan. And so if you don't have that filled out right now, you can find this on CTU and look and see what it's about and see what goals you can come up with. And then you'll just upload that to CTU. We'll want to see your class schedule. You do send that in for salary and teaching, but this is another place that you need to send that in. We want to make sure that you're reporting the correct OCAS codes that we're looking at above also for Oklahoma Promise Credit and everything like that. So you'll upload that. Your course program information, we want to see that you have a syllabus for each of your classes that you're teaching. And this is really important that you have your OCAS code on there, you have the competencies, you have how you come up with your grades for your class. We need to see that for each of your courses. And so this is also for capstone courses. Here again is a folder that you can click on in CTU for more information So that's basically for your syllabi. We need to see your curriculum crosswalks. And here's the link to get to the crosswalks. We need a crosswalk for each course that you're teaching. Some schools work on these crosswalks together if you have more than one teacher teaching a subject. But that is something that is required for your 5-year evaluation. We need to see that. Instructional materials, what are you using in your classroom? What is your LMS? Any innovative methods, projects, websites that you use. You'll just upload any kind of information that you have. Sometimes it can be snapshots of something that you use. Just give us examples. Screenshots. Number 6 goes on to your BPA or DECA chapter. We need to see your membership list, your list of officers. We're looking for monthly meeting agendas and minutes. And that's something that a lot of times we have to remind teachers that you do need to have an agenda and you do need to have minutes, and your minutes are going to be separate from your agenda. And we're trying to use parliamentary procedure. We'll want to see your program of work, volunteer hours. So all of this information on here. And again, as you can see, this is on CTU. So you can pull this up and look and see what you need and make sure you're uploading all of the documentation that we need. We want to see if your BPA DECA chapter has participated in FLC, state or national conferences, or any kind of competitive events. Tell us what you've done. This is your chance to shine and brag a little bit. Work-based learning, we're looking for sample projects of work-based learning that you're doing in your classroom. The worksite experiences are only if you have the internship class. How do you differentiate instruction? How do you address that? Maybe based on different learning styles, or if your student's on a 504 or an IEP. And so again, we have the met and not met section, and we need this to be met. If it's not met, we'll work with you and see what do we need to fix in order to get this to be a met. Okay, then any questions before we move on? Okay, standard 3 is support services. On support services, we're looking for enrollment. We hope to see that your classroom has 25 students maximum. That's in the Career Tech rules. So we do want a list of your class enrollment, your salary and teaching schedule, your SESI report. We're looking for your student recruitment methods. Do you have a Facebook account, Twitter account for your group or your program? On number 2, we're looking for your programs of study. And this has changed a little bit in the last year because of the ICAP coming into play. So we do still want to see, though, that you're showing your students what they can do with what they're learning from your courses, from your program. Career development enhancement, are you using OK Career Guide, or are you using, is it called Virtual School? I know there are some others that some of our other schools are using. As long as you're using some kind of career development, a career unit, so we'll need some examples of that. And then we have our met and not met for these 3 indicators. Any questions on quality standard 3? Okay, we'll move on to quality standard 4, which is measurement and analysis. And this is where we're looking to see, did you submit your 412 report? We need to see proper use of funds, including lottery grant funds if you were the recipient of a lottery grant. So this one's pretty easy because you get that done every year. On your career tech reports, we're looking for salary and teaching report, your SESI, and your follow-up report. And, you know, this past year we had a little bit of a, we had a problem with the follow-up reports because of school being cut short because of COVID. So we definitely want to, as we move forward, make sure we're keeping track and getting the information that we need to get for those follow-up reports.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kathy, this is Leanne. I just have a question about some of these reports.
Yes.
These, like the enrollment and the 412, all of these things that we are already submitting, are we going to have to resubmit them again to you? Or are you just going to say, yes, we got these in our office, you've submitted?
Carrie, I think we have them.
Yeah, I was just answering that in the chat,
Okay.
Leanne.
Okay.
So whenever you do your report, go ahead and run copies of those reports because you're going to want to upload those. And you would think it would be easy for us to just pull reports, but it's much easier for you to just go ahead and print the report or save the report and then have that on hand so that you can then present that in your evaluation.
Okay, thank you. And good question, Leanne, thank you. It's not,
Kathy,
yes.
one other thing I'll just add, because there's a lot of questions coming up on how long do we need to keep that information? How long do they need to keep it stored? And so, you know, the short answer is you should be keeping this kind of information 3 to 5 years out, especially the reporting, your testing information, your safety data. Those are things that for sure are important, not only for us, but Carl Perkins reporting as well. But things like your curriculum that you're using, that's just current year. You know, we're not concerned about what you were using to teach the previous year. Your crosswalk should be the current year. But all of those reports and the enrollment, all that kind of thing, that needs to be kept for a longer period of time. Your advisory committee minutes, your BPA and DECA agendas and meeting minutes, those kind of things. Keep those 3 to 5 years out.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Okay, so when we go to number 3, the program test data, we need to see that you are testing your students each year with one of the required tests that you'll find on the syllabus for the course that you're teaching, for any of the courses. And of course, they need to be tested in each of the courses that you're teaching. We need to see that you're testing all of your students. They all have to be, whichever test you're choosing from the required tests, all of your students have to use it. You can't use a different test for a certain group of students. You can do that as an extra test, but for your main test, all of your students have to test. And so keep in mind that if you have any students on an IEP or 504, you're going to follow those modifications still. But all students, we need to see that all students are testing. And then you have your met, not met statement here. Whoops. Okay. Any more questions on standard 4 before we move on? Okay, on standard 5, personnel. Here's where you're going to upload your teaching certificate. And if you went through new teacher, any kind of that information, we just need to see that you have the certification that you need for the class. So that's an easy one. Under professional development, we want to see that you have what professional development have you attended? Do you have a professional learning network? Are you involved in any professional groups? Are you involved with any community activities? Just give us anything of that type of information there. So standard 5 is pretty short, but you may have a lot to fill in for your professional development plan. And then you have your met and not met statement indicators there. Standard 6. So this one is operations. And here's where we're looking, you know, at the classroom. Is the classroom in good condition? Do you have proper storage? Do you have your cords put up? They're not out being a trip hazard. Equipment and supplies. You have each student has their own training station, computer, etc. Under number 3, safety. Okay, here again is where we're talking about that it's free of safety hazards. You have tested all of your students over safety, and you have your record showing each of them scored 100% for all students. You need to make sure that gets done at the beginning of the year and have record of that. On number 4, physical accommodations for students. What modifications do you have? Do you have any documentation to showing what accommodations you make for IEPs on your lesson plans or tests? We need to see that information, and these can just be samples. On number 5, advisory committee, you need to make sure that you have a list of your advisory committee members. We need their name, we need their company, we need their job title. We need to see that at least 50% of your advisory committee is from business and industry. We like you having administration from your school on there, any other teachers who'd like to be there, but we also need outside business and industry, and at least 50% of your advisory committee needs to be that. We need to see minutes, just the same as in your BPA or DECA meetings. We need to see minutes, what happened at your advisory meeting, and what have you done with any of the information you got at your advisory meeting, to make sure that you are conversing with the business and industry from your advisory and doing something with the information that they're giving you. And here's a link on CTU for an advisory committee handbook. Lots of good information in there. Number 6, industry involvement. We're looking at your BPA DECA program of work, any work site, job shadowing records, community service, anything like that. Any questions on standard 6? Okay, on the next section, this is for you to fill out. And so before we come to your, well, we're not coming to you, we're coming to you virtually this year, but before your evaluation day, if you would make sure you fill this out also. And when you upload your documentation, you can upload this form. And here is where we will use for your scoring summary. And if any standard is marked not met, the program will be placed on probation until the issue is corrected. Again, when we say placed on probation, that means we're going to work with you to come up with how can we fix this issue so that we can change it to a met, and then it can be sent through. This is if we come back, if there was a not met, if we come back, that's the page that we fill out. Okay, so that has taken us through the whole evaluation form. So there are 6 standards here that you are going to go one by one through each of these and make sure you're uploading all of the documentation that you need to upload to your folder. So from here, are there any questions? Would you like to go back to CTU and see where to find your folder again and how to upload? Or just any questions?
Kathy, I don't remember that you said this, and maybe you did and I missed it, but just a reminder that we want you to fill this form out too and upload it. We want you to fill out what you feel like your strengths or your areas for improvement for each of these are. And it can just be a statement, it can be okay, it can be whatever you think. We want to see what you think on this.
I did forget to say that.
You know your program better than we do. So, any insights that you have that you can give us on this form, this is always really enlightening for us to hear it from your standpoint. And it also helps you as you're preparing to get everything ready. It helps you make sure you don't miss something.
Yes, I did not say that, so thank you.
I have one other question. Some of my, like the safety tests and different things, those are in a binder that I've kept. As they're finished with it, we put that in. How do we need to document those kinds of things that are like excessive paper, even our professional development certificates?
Well, for professional, Kathy, did you want to take that? Or
no, I'm sorry. I just cleared my throat again.
Okay. So for PD opportunities, we don't have to see every one of your certificates. It might be just as I would rather just see a list of what you've done rather than look through a whole pile of certificates. I'm going to believe whatever you tell me you've done, and I would just as soon not have to look through all that paperwork to find, to see what all you've done. I'd much rather just see it in a professional development list. These are the things I've done, or on your resume, or something like that. So look for ways to consolidate the data, I guess, and make it more readable and not as we don't want tons of paperwork to go through either. So the more you can condense that and make it into something that's readable, and if we want to see more, then we'll ask for it. For example, on the safety, if you show us just maybe a screenshot of or just hold up your grade book, but if you show us where you've given all your students 100% on safety, and then maybe show us a student sample safety test, that's going to be all we need to see. And if we want more, then we'll say, okay, can you show me one more? If there's something that we need more, we'll just ask for it. But overall, we just want to see examples of what you've done.
Can I jump in here just for a minute? There is a form for professional development that Carrie's created out there in the 5-year evaluation folder. And it's just a way for you to list it. So it's a lot easier, so it's already created for you if you'd like to use that. You don't have to use that form for your PD, but it makes it easy if you have to come up with a list. And also there's some questions in the chat, Kathy, so I was going to share those with you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
One of the common questions is, what common reasons does a program not meet a standard?
And I know all of you can probably, answer that also. It could be maybe a program hasn't been testing their students, and we need to go through a testing season before we can pass the standard, or maybe they don't have any advisory meeting documentation to show, and so they need to have another advisory meeting and get that agenda going and get some minutes going. You guys want to add anything else?
I was just going to say that if any portion of the standard isn't met, then the whole standard is not met. So typically what I see when I go out, lots of times it's, as Kathy said, advisory committee, not having documentation for that, or for BPA or DECA. You know, things that we might see that you still need a little time to finish, we will give you that time. We'll work with you on that so that you have time to complete it before the end of the year. And typically, at least I don't go ahead and submit it until, you know, like if we're sitting there and you're telling me you're meeting with your advisory committee in 2 weeks and that will be your documentation, then I will I will wait to finish until you finish that advisory meeting, and then we'll finish the 5-year evaluation. So we give you time to work on that if you need to.
And I guess one thing to add to all that is, you know, when we come out, we are not looking to fail programs. We're not looking for ways to fail a program. We're looking for ways that your program is meeting all the standards. And if there's anything lacking, if you're missing in any one of those quality indicators, we're going to work with you to fix it, just like Jacqueline said. And because we think that this is a process to improve your program, and that's what we're there for. And so, you know, we're going to give you the time. We're going to show you the tools. We're going to hook you up with maybe another instructor who is doing something really well, and maybe share that process, or share their some of their documents maybe. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of things. One of the things that a lot of people don't do also, or several don't do a lot of times, is that 3-year plan. And that's the very first one on standard 2. And there's a template there that you can fill out. It doesn't need to be difficult, but it's basically taking all of those standards, all of the 6 standards that we address, and it's coming up with, okay, what does my program need to look like 3 years down the road? What do I want it to look like? Where do I want it to be? How do I want to make those improvements? And then think about what goals do you need to set in your program plan to get your program where you want it to go. And, you know, we're talking 1 or 2, maybe in each of those 7 or 6 standards. So, you know, it doesn't have to be difficult, but it needs, you know, if you're not thinking about what you want to do to improve your program, you need to be. You know, this is just one way to document how you're thinking, where you want your program to go. So, for instance, I see Michael on the line here, and I've had conversations recently with Michael about where he wants to go with programming. He's wanting to switch a lot of his courses, traditional courses, over to programming type courses. So that affects a lot of what he does as far as the software that he purchases, and the training that he needs to be able to do that, and the maybe equipment changes, you know, and it might have to do with, I don't know if there's any facility-wise, right now facility is up in the air, but so as you start planning towards where you want your program to go, you start thinking about what are those goals that you want to implement. But then also the next step is to tie your administration in with that document as well. Let them know that you're planning. You've got plans for your program. These are the things that you're wanting to do. This is where you want your program to go. And this is what it's going to take for me to get there. Keep them in the loop on what your plans are, and let them know that you've been doing some planning and that you have some things in mind for how to improve and grow your program. So that's where this is. This is a planning document to help you, but also support you with your administration.
Okay. Were there other questions?
So if we're at a school that has multiple teachers, like a union high school, we have 3 of us, and we also have someone at the 9th grade, are we all uploading like the similar documents, like the advisory panel we all attended? Do we all need to do that? Is that how?
Yes, you may be uploading some of the same information, like the advisory committee, agenda and minutes, yes. But into your own folders.
Okay.
You know, the reason for doing that, and I know it is more work for you, but you know, if we're doing 85-year evaluations in a year, trying to flip through each of those different folders to find that documentation takes a great deal of time. And so if you could upload it into your room, it just makes it so much easier for us to see.
Okay, that was a good question.
It was a really good question, and one thing that made me think about that too is the programs that have multiple teachers at one school site. If you do share an advisory committee, make sure that your program area, the courses that you're teaching, make sure there's industry representation for the areas that you're teaching, because the other teachers may be teaching in a completely different area. For instance, you may have a marketing teacher, and you may have some bite teachers, and you may have IT teachers. Those are all completely different areas, and you want to make sure that you have industry representation for those areas, all areas that are being taught, if you're sharing a committee.
And one other thing about the advisory is it does have to be in person, face to face, but of course right now with COVID, you know, we can do virtual meetings with them, such as Zoom, but it does need to be still a live back and forth meeting where you can talk and exchange ideas. It can't be, you know, email back and forth or a Google Doc back and forth. It needs to be a live meeting where you can converse back and forth still. And then, you know, if this ends sometime soon, hopefully, we'll go back to, it does need to be in-person, face-to-face meetings. What else? Anyone have any other questions? Okay. If you think of any other questions later, you just email. We do have a question here. How will you be meeting with our principals?
So that is a good question, Summer. So in speaking with my supervisor, Corey Gray, who's over all the program areas, her vision for this is that all the career tech programs that are in the high school will meet with the administration at the same time. So, you know, even though your actual evaluation dates may be a different time, they should be within the same general time frame, as far as within a couple of weeks. So there'll be a specific date, is my understanding, is how she wants us to do this, where each of the divisions will be represented in a Zoom session along with your administration. But we'll report out with you before we leave. You know, we'll go through everything together, and then we'll talk about your findings and everything. But so you'll know exactly what we're going to talk about when we talk to the administration. There are no surprises. You know, we're open, completely open book. Good question.
Okay, anything else? All right, well, thank you guys for logging in. Again, if you think of any questions later, just let us know. You can email any of us. Thank you guys.
Good luck. We look forward to working with you.